Maka Jason sekarang lagi sibuk apa?
Somehow work from home lebih sibuk dibanding kerja biasa ya, karena conference call-nya back to back gitu, jadi mepet banget. Jadi somehow hari ini kan harusnya tanggal merah, tapi I had a back to back calls dari pagi sampai sekarang.
From your house ya, dari rumahmu
Yeah,
atau
from my
dari
house. I'm in my house now. Yeah, I think part of the problem is I work for investment fund, hedge fund base-nya di Hong Kong. Jadi kolega saya mostly outside of Indonesia. So Indonesian public holidays kadang berlaku, kadang nggak berlaku because they are working as usual gitu.
ya memang ada statistik yang bilang memang kalau orang work from home ada kecenderungannya malah jadi abusing the work hours ya, karena
Ya, ya, ya.
kita jadi nggak bisa separate, nggak bisa putus untuk terus bekerja gitu ya.
In some ways, you know, maybe efficiency-nya a bit down karena kita lebih santai gitu. Tapi kerjaannya jadi lebih lama. So, I mean, the work hours become longer gitu, sampai malam juga. But anyway,
Ya, mungkin kita kenalan dulu ya buat yang belum tahu siapa itu Jason Tabalujan. Jadi beliau adalah seorang investment profesional yang malang melintang di dunia private equities ya Jason ya. Dan kemudian di posisi terakhir beliau saat ini juga sebagai salah satu director di sebuah perusahaan yang bergerak di bidang entertainment ya Jason ya. Do you wanna tell the about your career background to the audience? Maybe why
uh,
you maybe kenapa you join investment world, why not the other industry, and why private equities, and why
yeah.
entertainment industry as a choice.
Okay, sure. Jadi sebenarnya why I joined the investment world itu karena I graduated in 2003 di US, and pada waktu itu kan you know, I was just looking for a job and that was the job that I got. Jadi kind of by chance gitu. Jadi dulu saya kerjanya di New York, started with doing valuation for KPMG, and then I did private equity for Credit Suisse di New York. Terus setelah itu leverage finance di G Capital. So I started working in finance in New York, and that was the time when at that point in time I took the CFA program. Jadi waktu itu I remember we took the CFA in the Javits Center di New York City. I think it's like, you know, more than 5,000 people gitu. Jadi, and pada waktu itu kan paper based ya, jadi like multiple choice gitu. And then di luar auditoriumnya, there's a lot of people like, you know, memorizing the cheat sheets and flashcards. Jadi bikin lebih intense lagi, you know, lebih nervous gitu liatin everybody with like a lot of cheat sheets gitu. But no, that was so I started in New York. Actually tahun 2003 it was kind of a down year. Karena 2001 kan was the tech bubble, right? And then September 11, so markets were down 2002, 2003. Tapi the good thing is when I started working, 2004, 5, 6, things started to get much better, right? So money was being printed like now, tapi at that point in time, you know, there was a leverage buyout boom. People call it an LBO boom karena private equity funds have access to a lot of cheap money. Mereka bisa beli perusahaan, financingnya murah di bawah 5%, right? Jadi the return on equity for them is very very high. Jadi they use a lot of debt, and so there was a lot of acquisitions. Private equity funds were even buying out public companies pada waktu itu. And then I was a bit lucky because tahun 2007 I applied to business school, and Maret tahun 2008 I was already accepted into business school. And so when Bear Stearns fell and was acquired by JP Morgan, I'm already accepted to school, jadi no consequence to me. And waktu Lehman Brothers jatuh, tanggal 15 September 2008, I'm already a student. Jadi, you
That's
know,
a
I
good
had
time. When crisis, always good time to go back to school, right?
exactly. And school kan, you know, I like to be in school. You know, you're with a lot of your friends. You know, networking and building relationships. Jadi it was a good time. Some people say, you know, some of the best times of your life is in the school experience. And then tahun 2010 I came back to Indonesia, then started doing private equity. I worked for a conglomerate for a few years, and then now I'm back into the fund management world. I work for a 6 billion hedge fund. We invest in debt and equity, public and private. Jadi kita bisa private equity, bisa private, bisa public equity, bisa private debt, public debt. So jadi bisa debt atau equity, public atau private. Quite flexible. Across the capital structure kita bisa invest. So yeah, the fund now, the fund actually asal usulnya dari Lehman Brothers, Special Situations Group, and now you know, we manage 6 billion US, tapi tahun 2009 the fund started with 100 million US. So there's been a lot of growth. And then you mentioned entertainment, Junior. So, you know, a few years ago we bought an equity stake in CGV Cinemas. Jadi, you know, we are a 40% shareholder of CGV, the second largest cinema chain in Indonesia. Which at that point in time, I think about 8 years ago, 21 masih kind of menguasai, you know, the bioskop market in Indonesia. They had more than 90% market share more than 8 years ago. And so CGV has kind of increased its market share slowly over time. And now, you know, we have, you know, 21 has about 60% market share. And then, you know, there's CGV and also Cinemax or Cinepolis, which is linked with Lipo. But now we're the second largest cinema chain in Indonesia. We have 400 screens. And, you know, before COVID hit, we were, you know, we were growing in Indonesia, and our capex was financed by cash flow from operations. Bukan suntikan dana from shareholder atau loan, tapi cash flow from operation, which is the best way to grow, right? Because the company basically, you know, beranak sendiri. It just multiplies itself over time. So, so that was a good model. And, you know, right now we're having some issues with the COVID situation. Social distancing measures have to be abided by, and, you know, customer safety is obviously number one. So, you know, there's some things that we need to go through, but I think, you know, at the end of the day, right, I feel like, you know, COVID is something that's going to affect us maybe for this year and for the, you know, potentially even next year. But, you know, if you look at history, the world has experienced all these other pandemics in the past. You know, I think before January 2020, there was the swine flu of 2009, and not many people remember. So maybe in 2030, people will be, you know, kind of not really thinking about COVID anymore. So I'm sure it will work itself out, and you know, we're trying to figure out what is the best way to engage again, when is the best time to open, and all of that. But, you know, we're evaluating the situation. One thing that's good, CGV kan is part of a multinational chain, so we can rely on the experience of our sister companies, the Korea, China, Vietnam, you know, which are kind of, you know, in some ways ahead of the curve in terms of the COVID curve. Yeah, I think in Hong Kong they've had no cases, 0 cases of COVID for, you know, a few weeks already. Jadi they're much ahead of the curve. so we can see how retail operators are doing. And yeah, so let's see.
We are going to discuss about cinema further, yeah, later. But first, before
Okay.
that, I want to know, yeah, and especially because there are some of our colleagues that are taking CFA courses, yeah, joining our discussion, right? So, what's the benefit in your point of view of taking CFA and being chapter holder for your career journey, Jason?
CFA benefitnya is you learn all aspects of finance. Ya, jadi it's not just accounting, it's not just corporate finance, it's not just valuation, tapi it's also a deep, you cover understanding of derivatives and options, ethics, even in accounting, you deal with pension accounting. Jadi the scope of the CFA is quite wide, yeah, which is quite handy karena umumnya if you get into any finance related interview, you will know something about whatever question that is asked. Karena most likely you'll be covered by the CFA program. So one thing is the breadth of the curriculum. It's I think I have an MBA, right, from an Ivy League institution, and the CFA program is even deeper than a typical finance class in an MBA program. So it's a basically the CFA is kind of like some even compare it to an MBA, but in a way the CFA is like a portfolio of classes gitu in all aspects of finance. So it's very helpful. So one is the knowledge, two is the brand recognition. Yeah, jadi it's 3 levels, and I think not easy to get level 1, level 2, level 3. So the people that pass all 3 levels are definitely a small subset, and brand recognition helps because it opens doors. Ya kan? Like in everything in life, to get through the door, you have to do it yourself. Ya kan? It's not just degrees or titles that get you through life gitu. You have to make effort yourself. Tapi at least the door is open. Jadi tinggal masuk aja gitu. So it gives it. The good thing about CFA is that it's consistent. Jadi in all markets, people know exactly. They have a sense of what you know as well. Jadi at least they don't have to test you on all this knowledge in finance. At least they know that if you've done the program, you have a certain minimum level of knowledge that you have already. Gitu. So so I think it definitely helps to open doors and and get to know, make sure that you at least cover the scope of all the knowledge bases in finance gitu. So it's a very complete knowledge base, I would say.
It gives you, if I may summarize, it opens doors for you, right? And then also itu very deep in the technical expertise, so it helps you during your progression in your professional work, ya kan? And also, like you said, the CFA program is very focused, very well acknowledged by a lot of people in the investment professional. Begitu ya biasanya. Nah, kita juga saya open untuk semua penanya, jadi kita welcoming more people to join our talks. Nah, ini ada pesan sponsor untuk yang mau nanya, nanti saya akan kasih satu voucher emas senilai 50.000. Jadi silakan yang mau nanya, tulis saja komen di IG Live di bawah ini. Nanti saya dan Jason akan coba jawab. Nah, Jason, tadi kan you mention about your career, itu kan berarti udah lewatin various cycle ya, mulai dari tadi ya crisis tech bubble 2003, and then 2008 obviously, and then kemudian diikuti oleh yang tadi you bilang swine flu, right? So you see also the recovery of the post 28, the boom in the 2012, and and now our situation in 2020. Nah, menurut you apa yang beda dan apa yang you bisa belajar dari the previous cycle of the downturn of the economy? Dan dibanding dengan saat ini, apa yang bisa kita belajar dari situasi itu?
So apa yang beda, I guess, previous cycle, let's say, let's take the 2008 global financial crisis kan itu. Nah, that was driven by intinya too much debt in the system, ya kan? And so the housing markets crashed in the U.S. and the banks that held a lot of the mortgages had bad securities on their books, and people like Lehman ujung-ujungnya jatuh kan because they cannot withhold those losses. Gitu. Right now, it's a different crisis karena it's a human crisis. Jadi the correction will so basically the debt levels are not as elevated as before, but right now all governments are printing money trying to save their respective economies. Jadi ujung-ujungnya government debt's gonna go up. Yeah, kan? So I think the good thing about this I guess the good thing about this situation is that we know that pandemics have a life gitu. It's not gonna be on for 10 years or 5 years, ya kan? Jadi at least there's gonna be an uplift at the end of the day. When it happens, nobody knows, but there will be an end to this gitu. Jadi I would say as investment professionals, if you're investing gitu, if you invest, let's say in the stock market, to choose companies with good balance sheets, right? That don't have any liquidity issues. Jadi if they need liquidity, they can either raise capital, atau they have, if they have a lot of very stable earnings, they have access to all that cash flow. So even though, I would say in crisis there's opportunity kan. Jadi if there's a big price dislocation and the stock markets go down, to look for the best companies with strongest balance sheets and defendable platforms. For example, like Google has 60% of this. They have actually more than they control the search market, yeah kan? So in terms of online advertising, search advertising, they control it. They don't have debt. They have access to 100 billion of cash. Companies like that, kalau misalnya they drop in value, and the PE drops from let's say drops to 10 times PE, I would say that's a solid buy. Karena at the end of the day, they're gonna as global markets recover, nobody can take their place. Right? Exactly, they would bounce back. So it's a good time to look for those dislocations gitu.
So the key is cash rich, less debt, strong balance sheet, ya kan? With solid market grip in terms of market share.
Yeah, strong balance sheets meaning low debt and decent amount of access to cash flow, right? It doesn't have to be cash rich, but as long as they're not highly levered. Karena kalau ada debtnya kan they would need the cash to pay down the debt before equity holders can enjoy dividends, right? So I would say balance sheets that don't have too much debt, and then strong market positions mean they have ability to continue to generate cash flow. Jadi in terms of competitive landscape, nggak ada saingannya yang can kind of take over their place gitu. So their market positions will be solid, right? And it's not even just competitors that could take away their place. We have to also think about karena kan in today's world of technology, there's a lot of disruption that can happen. So you have to be watchful as well. and pick companies in with strong market positions and in industries that would be, that can last and not be disrupted by new technologies gitu. So defendable balance sheets, defendable market positions, defendable cash flow platforms. I think those are the key. And if you see a dislocation in price, and if you see price to earnings, price to book go down, below comparables and below historicals, then at some point the markets will bounce back, right?
You're talking about comparing one company to the other based on PE. Nah, itu kan meaning we are talking about stocks or equities as an investment option. Nah, boleh nggak kita sekarang ngomongin about the personal holdings nih for everyone ya? Maybe you bisa share based on your perspective sendiri ya. Maybe saat ini your personal investing strategy itu seperti apa guys in this situation?
In terms of portfolio
Ya.
Portfolio concentration gitu ya.
Yep.
Yeah. Jadi at this point in time, sure. At this point in time, I have a lot of. I invest actively in the US juga, but in terms of stocks versus cash, now I'm overweight on. I have a lot of cash, karena US market seems to be overvalued, because they bounce back relative to March, tapi second quarter kan will be very bad for all global, for all economies in the globe kan. Tapi it sounds like the stock market hasn't reflected that yet. So I think they've just reacted to the Fed printing money and supporting the economy. Tapi if the second quarter is bad, the earnings would go down, ya kan? Jadi the PE would go up and stocks will become quite expensive. Jadi the answer to your question is that I have reduced my stake in stocks quite a bit. So now I'm probably 80% cash.
What's your view on gold?
Well, printing money will make gold go up, yeah. So I think it's it's a position that that would make sense in a portfolio. Obviously the concentration of my portfolio, it depends on what your objectives are, kan? If you're people who are older, they want to maintain their portfolio, jadi more risk averse. They want a stable portfolio, ya kan? People who are younger are more ambitious, jadi they are more risk taking. They want to kalau bisa 2 kali 3 kali
return generating portfolio.
Exactly. So so there's obviously those differences in approach. Kalau young guys, they want to take more risks, so they maybe want to do more risk-taking investments, and so they may put more money to stocks instead of bonds, and maybe the gold concentrations would still be there, but I would say it just depends on the risk tolerance and where you are, ya kan? Tapi gold makes a lot of sense. Because as the governments print money, gold price is going to go up. It's just like real estate, right? Real estate is also another inflation hedge, karena you cannot print more real estate, and in a way you can also there's limited amount of gold in the world. I think the major gold mines, have been managing their capex. So gold reserves, are also kind of limited as they extract. The amount of gold extracted over the next few years also quite limited gitu. Jadi I think, with the limited supply and money printing, there's upside to be made in gold.
Yep. Now talking about, let's say after the situation gets better or eases out later, what sector do you see bakalan bounce earlier or faster than the other sector? Apakah your portfolio ya CGV Cinema will bounce fast, or do you see other sector? Which sector will you see? For example, healthcare. I don't know. What's your view on that?
I think in terms of bounce back, it's hard to predict sharp, sectors that would bounce back because I think, for example, like CGV depends on whether there's a vaccine and how people are coming back to malls and things like that. So it's a bit hard to I'm not sure whether there'll be a sharp bounce back gitu kan. But I think put it this way, people talk about V shape or W shape or U shape. Yeah, I think it's less of a V shape. So it's less of a big bounce back. It's more of a gradual bounce back. Lebih kayak U dibanding V, I would say. And so, but sectors that benefit from the situation would probably be those that have a lot of, that have a digital platform, right? Karena, for example, Zoom, before the COVID situation, nobody knew, I mean, people didn't really depend that much on Zoom. Now everybody knows. So, so companies with a good digital platform, would have, stronger cash flows after this situation, karena they got a lot of free marketing. So.
Nah, let's assume that the situation will prolong. What's your view of your strategy to adjust? Let's say people have no that big confidence, let's say, to go to the cinema physically. Maksudnya ada inovasi-inovasi nggak yang kalian bakal lakukan untuk, let's say, basically, because I think for your company, people have to go to your physical cinema to basically so that you can get the cash flow from them, right? I mean, what's your plan? Let's say this situation for long to mitigate.
So I think, in terms of my plan, right? So the plan for when things are back, I think generally CGV is wants to be, the tagline is beyond movies, ya kan? I think if you look at the FX, Sudirman, Teras Kota locations, you see basketball courts at CGV. Karena it's not just about having movies. CGV wants to be an entertainment platform. So, you can go to CGV and get a workout, play basketball, play billiards at Teras Kota, CGV Teras Kota. Not just watch movies, but also, go to events, ya kan? And, even attend like small concerts and things like that. So CGV wants to be an entertainment platform, just more than just movies. In terms of, how we're gonna bounce back, I think we'll look to other companies as well. But I think one reason why we're still bullish that there will still be a market for CGV and the company will not go to zero is because the difficulty that CGV faces in terms of getting people together in a room is the same difficulty that Manchester United faces, and Liverpool and Golden State Warriors, NBA, NFL. We are all in the same boat because you need people together in one auditorium to watch a movie. Tapi you also need people together in Old Trafford in order to watch Manchester United. Jadi those owners of Manchester United and the NBA and the NFL, they're all in the same boat as us.
Same headache.
And I don't think that Liverpool will be non-existent after, because of COVID. Yeah, kan? So COVID is not going to kill Liverpool. It's not going to kill Chicago Bulls, right? So so they have big budgets because those are billion-dollar enterprises. Jadi they will research into the best practices, best ways to let people have experience together as an audience, and that's something that we'll look to them as well. I think it's not just professional sports, but one thing interesting is that there's also the world of esports, right? Esports can be consumed at home gitu, but there's been a lot of esports events that are in auditoriums like professional sports, right? So I mean, whatever innovation that they have, we'll kind of monitor and maybe bring that to Indonesia as well, because they're spending the top dollar to get the best innovations.
Oke. Sekarang saya mau bacain dulu nih, ada yang nanya kebetulan. Bagaimana strategi bisnis perusahaan yang terkena impact COVID ini dihadapkan dengan cash reserve yang semakin terbatas?
Strateginya adalah liquidity management and cost management. Obviously, cost management is not just cost cutting, karena we have to manage the platform. It could be even cost deferral, ya kan? So certain costs that we need to pay now, we pay later. Put it as a payable on the balance sheet, tapi at least it's saving the existing cash holding that we have now, gitu. I think the good thing with CGV and other companies, we have strong relationships to banks. Jadi it's important to kind of maintain your relationships with banking partners. Make sure you have liquidity, and at the same time, within your P&L, manage your cost. And again, it's not just cutting, tapi deferment juga. I think because at some point, if you cut when things are back, you cannot add as fast gitu. You cannot nikmatin the revenues as much because you have already cut that resource from your system, kan? Then you have to cari lagi to kind of put that resource back gitu. So in a way, cutting sometimes may not cutting costs too much may not allow you to enjoy the upside when it comes back. So you need to manage it, not just by cutting, but also deferment.
Now talking about, because your background is also a private equity, right? How do you see Indonesian companies, let's say, efforts to sustain in this time? Do you see them doing what you are saying, for example, liquidity management, cash management? Are they doing it in a good way, or actually banyak perusahaan yang udah kesulitan juga? Yang you lihat dari kacamata as a private equity professional seperti apa?
Yeah, I mean, I would say smaller companies, SME kan balance sheet-nya lebih kecil, so access to cash is smaller, ya kan? So even though smaller SMEs, kalau misalnya balance sheet-nya lebih ringan, lebih debt light, so not a lot of debt, they would still have issues in terms of access to capital karena the banking relationships may be more limited than a bigger company, ya kan? So in tough times kayak seperti ini, it may make sense to consolidate. Consolidation does not need to happen just with your competitors, with saingan, with your direct competitors, but it can also be consolidating with your suppliers, integrate upstream, or even consolidating with your customers. So just trying to find a way to share your costs, share your platform, and share profit. I guess that's one thing that companies would do. And for us as a fund, we're still actively investing in Indonesia. Tapi obviously because we don't know, there's the uncertainty. We don't know when COVID will end. Berarti we need to be more conservative in terms of having more cash on the balance sheet so that companies can last. Ya kan? So when we acquire companies, we're looking for those with that can last, and you know, when we invest, it's not just the companies that we invest in, tapi we also invest with Indonesian entrepreneurs and local investors. So we need to make sure that we are in partnership with the right groups that can last, and you know, that have you know, access to liquidity and you know, and banking relationships.
Ya, obviously ya. Before the situation kan kita tahu bahwa Indonesia itu termasuk salah satu private destination lah untuk investment kan. Nah, how do you see after the pandemic? Apakah Indonesia is still will be a destination for investors? How do you see that?
I think pre and post pandemic, Indonesia kan, you know, world's fourth largest country, you know, quite a sizable young population, growing middle class, all of those remain kan. It's just that the competitive landscape may change gitu. So certain companies that cannot last, you know, may not last, and there will be other players, but there's still quite a big economy in Indonesia. So I think you know, there's still you know, capital gains to be made in Indonesia. Just need to partner with the right partners and choose the right platform aja.
Makasih ya. Nah, sekarang back to a bit about your journey nih. Kan you have apa ya? Jarang lah orang yang bisa masuk ke Ivy League dan also CFA charter holder, biasanya maybe cuma salah satu ya. Orang ngambil MBA, Ivy League pula, and then masih ngambil CFA lagi. Gitu. Nah, kalau misalnya you can redo the time ya, will you do it again? And also if you are asked to give advice to the people yang let's say baru lulus atau ngambil satu, itu you akan saranin hal yang sama, misalnya to take both or maybe just take one is enough. What do you think?
For me, I try to live life I try to minimize my regrets. Jadi, on your first question, you know, I don't like, you know, I probably, you know, wouldn't wanna change my past karena I have accepted all my past decisions and I don't have any regrets ya kan. And in terms of CFA and MBA, ya kalau CFA I would say kalau ada yang sudah lewat level 1, right? I would say, you know, try and complete it because, you know, it's just anyway another 2 exams, another 2 years, and then you'll be done. Completeness says something about yourself karena you know, it's just basic discipline to just complete things, even simple things gitu. You know, when I was in business school, I spent 4 days with the U.S. Marines in Quantico, Virginia, right? Jadi we spent time in the dorm, you know, and we cleaned the toilet and we learned how to shoot, you know, and they taught us about discipline and completing even simple tasks, right? Which is like making your bed. Itu sangat simple, tapi if you can make your bed every day, you can do a lot of great things in life. Karena then you learn to complete things. You know, jadi I would say, you know, there's a lot to be said about completing things, such as CFA. Nah, CFA and MBA kan totally different experience. Kalau CFA is a self-study, kind of a broad scope, good understanding of all aspects of finance, which is valuable. MBA sedikit berbeda because I went to a 2-year MBA school in the US, so it's not just about the knowledge but also about the people that you meet and also the network that you make in business school. So it's totally different. CFA ada network juga because later when you get your CFA charter, you join the CFA Institute and there's networking there. But having 2 years, spending 2 years with 800 people gives you access to all kinds of networks as well. So I would say it's not exactly a substitute. CFA and MBA, not exactly the same. Slightly different things with different benefits.
Okay. So you basically orang silahkan evaluasi sendiri lah ya, maksudnya kalau CFA disesuaikan dengan passionnya media. So kalau misalnya mau ngambil dua-duanya juga kayak what you did juga it's fine ya, as long as you don't regret it, right?
Ya, kalau ada banyak waktu like me, you just take two. Tapi if you wanna prioritize and kind of, see, the business school in an MBA program, you also get to do study more things than finance, yeah. And a lot of people in business school switch careers. Jadi misalnya they were engineers before, tapi masuk business school and then go into Wall Street, right? So it's also good for career switching. Kalau CFA is not career switching, it's career deepening. Karena
you're
it's
deepening
100%
what you already know in finance.
Exactly. Jadi, so there's different benefits to both. And, I would say, both are definitely useful, and it just depends on where you are in your life, gitu.
Ini ada yang nanya, Jason. Kalau CGV dampak terbesar selama pandemi bagaimana? Maybe ini lebih ke impact on the pandemic on the company ya. What does the company do to basically managing this pandemic in terms of a company view?
No, biggest impact is we cannot engage with our customers kan. Jadi it's hard to engage. CGV kan we have 400 screens in Indonesia, 68 locations. It's mostly on-site business, even though we have social media platforms, tapi it's hard to engage with customers when we don't have the platform for when people typically come to us physically and engage with us. Jadi so the challenge now is to survive the pandemic, and then when things are much better, we will be there. Karena for sure is that what we know for sure is that things will definitely improve. It's not going to be this pandemic will not be the end of cinema. This pandemic will not be the end of Manchester United. This will not be the end of Los Angeles Lakers atau New York Yankees, right? So so all of those entertainment platforms will rebound, and we just want to make sure that we are there when it rebounds, gitu.
Ya. Tadi kan you juga mention company sebaiknya memang harus ahead in terms of innovation. Nah, ini ada yang nanya nih, apa yang harusnya paling utama dilakukan oleh industri hiburan untuk mengurangi dampak pandemi atau beradaptasi dengan kondisi sekarang, bahkan new normal. Maybe if I can add, maybe what kind of innovation maybe yang harus dilakukan oleh industri hiburan untuk beradaptasi dengan new normal.
Yeah, I would say yang tadi, in terms of engagement with customers, engagementnya mungkin harus dimodify gitu. Kalau dulu it was 100% in person, yeah. Now maybe there's different ways to engage with customers, and different ways to get people to think about CGV kan. But having said that, CGV is still a retail business. Jadi kita masih butuh kind of the in-person experience, right? But I think we have access to some people in entertainment Indonesia in terms of actors or production houses and movie makers. And one way to engage with customers, for example, is to give a lot of content on our social media outlets, so people can can engage with us, and also maybe even give more updates on when the next movies are coming out gitu. Karena Hollywood kan yang pasti, like, you know, pandemic is also not going to kill Hollywood, right? You know, di tahun 2025, 2030, there will still be movies, right? This is not the end of movies forever, gitu kan? And so Hollywood makes a lot of money from releasing movies in cinemas. Jadi, you know, we'll stay updated on that. Maybe we can kind of try and share more information with the customers in terms of when, you know, the next releases are coming out, gitu. Karena they are you know, everyone on the Hollywood side is also very focused on when the movies can be released in theaters.
Ada yang nanya lagi. Kalau dibilang recovery-nya lebih U-shape, sebetulnya indikator apa yang kita tunggu buat masuk ke market? Karena sebelumnya orang-orang yang nunggu new cases peak sekarang udah declining. Cuma investor masih debating whether ini udah price in dengan ekspektasi recovery di second half atau belum. Jadi maybe dia sekarang lagi nunggu mau masuk ke market, tapi dia cari timing. Ini what's your view ya? Apakah memang betul kita harus nunggu timing tepat atau bagaimana?
I think instead of selecting which timing yang tepat, it's better to select which company yang tepat, right? Which balance sheet that you're most comfortable with, which sector and which set of cash flows yang you feel is most defendable. Karena, you see, kalau kita invest, right? When we invest, okay, kalau private equity or fund, we invest biasanya 100% of our capital at one point in time. Contohnya, when we bought CGV, we invested 100% of our capital into CGV at that point in time, ya kan? Tapi if I invest in the stock markets, you know, you've heard of average down theory. It's the idea of not, you know, let's say I want to buy Google, yeah, and I have, you know, whatever, 100K to buy Google. I don't put 100K day one in Google. Maybe I put, you know, 20K in Google, and I invest 5 times, ya kan? Karena you invest a little bit to get exposure, and then kalau misalnya harganya jatuh lagi, you can make even more money if you still believe the company is very strong. Jadi you put in more money, kan? Tapi kalau harganya naik, you already make a gain. Yeah, so that's one way to invest in the market, which is not to invest 100% at one time only. Because if you invest 100% at one time, then you have to make sure your timing is 100% correct. Ya kan? Jadi, if you're not sure, contohnya, if you're not sure when the recovery is, whether it's, you know, Juni, Juli, Agustus, whatever, right? Then maybe you invest equal amounts over those 6 months. At some point in time, you will get the right month, kan?
Cost averaging.
Yeah, jadi you spread your investment over the horizon, gitu. That's one way to do it.
That's true. So rather than waiting for the timing yang actually no one knows ya kapan the right timing, ya kita melakukan, ya kita akan timing or investing dan juga di spread the investment dikit-dikit.
Yeah. So rather than selecting which time, you should select the company and the industry and then the cash flows and the structure of how the company make money, kan? Suppliernya siapa, dia dependent on one supplier or 100, and then customernya siapa, and then kedepannya will it continue to make money, and then who are the competitors, you know, are they going to lose market share, you know, who is the shareholder, is the shareholder good shareholder yang mau create value for everyone, karena you know, that also has a spectrum. Jadi in terms of the decisions that you have to make, you should make more decisions on that as opposed to timing, whether
So
it's June, July, August. Yeah.
Basically investing in the fundamentals, right? Investing
Exactly.
in the right sector, right the company. Right? So I think we need to finish anyway because it's already 1 hour. So thank you banget for your time, Jason. As a closing statement, maybe ada something yang you wanna tell the people, for example dari CFA Indonesia yang, for example, lagi taking the designation, or just from ordinary people yang let's say lagi consider mau invest or lagi mau manage their portfolio during these times. Any words for them?
Yeah, I would say every crisis there's opportunity. Jadi don't just stay on the sidelines. Be active, be active. Try and actively manage your own personal portfolio juga. Jadi yang pasti let's say we earn money gitu, save some money and maybe use some to invest actively. Even small is okay, karena with every investment you learn, ya kan? And when you invest, we are taking a bet kan, tapi we don't know 100% of what's going to happen in the future, karena we are not God gitu. So we're just taking a bet with the best knowledge that we have. Jadi yang pasti, with every investment, you will definitely learn. So it's important to learn from, what you've done well and also what you have not done well, karena all of that will sharpen your investment ability gitu. And I would say, when you take the CFA, kan you learn a lot of good concepts and understanding. Tapi there's nothing like learning by doing gitu. So when you actually put your own money, yeah, then you really think about the investment kan, karena you wanna make sure that it's gonna do well gitu. So I would say be active and continue to learn from what you do. That's it.
Okay, awesome. That's it from Jason Tabalujan, CFA. Thank you for your time, Jason.
Okay.
Nice speaking with you as always. And let's connect again in the next future. Stay in touch.
Okay, thank you
Bye-bye.
very much. Bye-bye.